Wanderers, we're here to get gear, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. The most efficient and the most effective ways for you to get the best gear and get your character into the highest levels of the pit. I'm going to teach you all of the little tips, tricks, and secrets that I have learned over the last couple years that allows me to go from level 1 straight into Torment 4 on day 1, and then progress to some of the top levels of the pit. Now, before we hop into the good stuff, one thing that will absolutely help you out this season is hopping into Discord with us. The link will be at the top of the description of this video. We have an incredibly active ARPG, mostly Diablo 4 community. Everyone is very friendly, welcoming. They would absolutely love to have you be a part of the Cliptonian Legion. The trade channel is going. If you wanted to find a place where you didn't have to go to any outside source and you just wanted to trade around some of the gear that you have, whether it's a trade to trade, whether it is just buying something with the in-game gold, it is really an awesome place for you to get that done. It makes it a lot easier than having to try and use a chat. Now, the voice chats here, as you can see, there are people just constantly playing together, hanging out, talking, and we have channels for each of the classes. If you have a question and you want to get that answered, this is a great place for you to go. Now, I know that sometimes playing with other people can be a very scary thing. I was there once, but once we started playing with people on Diablo 4, it completely changed around the way that the game feels, and I will never go back, and I have convinced countless people to do the same. So hopefully we'll see you there. Let's hop into the Barbarian build that I'm currently running right now, because it is absolutely crazy. This AFK build here, this one, I have basically just plopped myself down in the middle of Helltides, and monsters run at me and they die right away. I collect all the cinders, and then we move on to the next quest. Or you can take this build right into the Infernal Hordes and get thousands of ether just by yourself with a solo build. Now, we're here to talk about gear, so I'm very excited to take you on a journey. This is going to start from level 1, from character creation. We had a huge influx of brand new players last season with Diablo 4 coming to PlayStation Plus. So if this is still something that you're struggling with, make sure that you watch the very beginnings of this gearing section here. If you've been playing for a very long time and you've already gotten through the basics, you can use the timestamps in the description of this video to kind of skip ahead to the more advanced section of gearing your character. We're going to start today's video off with your gear types. Now, you're going to be faced with several different gear types right from the get-go while you're leveling. The very first items you're going to run into will be white. They're going to be on your character when you first get started. As you progress in the game, the first thing that you'll start to see drop is going to be these blue items. These are called magic items. Then the next thing you're going to find is going to be rare. The rare will be yellow. These will be an upgrade from your blue and your magic items. These are going to start dropping for you around level 10 to 15. And then if you do get lucky around level 10 to 15, because sometimes you do, you're going to find legendary pieces of gear. These will be orange. These will have what is called an aspect on the bottom here. Now, the way that these are going to work is that you will have 2 affix lines, which is these right here. Then you will have 2 or a chance to get 3 on your yellow pieces of gear. And then you're going to always have 3 affixes on anything that is legendary. During the leveling process, you also have a chance to run into what is called uniques. Now, unique items during the leveling process, most of the time, are going to be something that you will just put on right away because they're very, very strong during the leveling process. Once you get to the endgame process, you're going to be a lot more selective with what you're going to be choosing, but uniques will always be the same with the same affixes and the same stats on them. Now, once you broke it into your torment tiers, that will come after you hit level 60, you're going to start finding what is called ancestral gear. Ancestral gear is denoted by the star right here. This star is called a greater affix. These affix lines roll at 1.5 times what your normal affix line would roll on, so it makes them very desirable to get. You will also notice that this says item 750 power, and then this one says item 800 power. Those are going to be what you want to look for in the ultimate endgame, and 800 is the highest item power that you can get in the game. You will also have a chance to find your ancestral uniques. They will also have a greater affix. Now, you can find pieces of gear with every single affix line as a greater affix. However, they are very rare and they are hard to find. And finally, the bottom of the tier list, this is something that you do not want to start focusing on until you get into the late end game, is going to be your mythic uniques. Now, they will always be ancestral, which means they will always have at least 1 greater affix on them, and these eventually will be what you're going to be looking for to finish out your end game builds. So how do you know what to equip when during the leveling process? When you first start off here, there is a very specific setting that you do want to turn on. It is going to be in a video that will be in the description of this one. This will allow you to see a comparison of the different affix lines on the gear. If during the leveling process you see something that pops up that's green, you definitely want to put that on. That's basically the way that it's going to go for about the first 45 levels that you do. Now, when you get into the end game, obviously, I would not want to be replacing this piece of gear with the one that I currently have on, even though it's green, so that will change later on, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. When you start getting your rare pieces of gear here, these will have just slightly higher stats than your magic gear. As you can see, this one rolls up to a 77 on strength. This one rolls up to a 76. During the leveling process, it is actually much bigger, and you can really feel the difference between going from magic to rare. Now, going from rare to legendary here, you obviously will gain another affix, so that is a huge bonus. However, during the leveling process, you will hit certain breakpoints in leveling where you will jump from, let's say you can get a maximum of 10 strength, up to, it will jump up to a 27 strength at most. Now, you will definitely want to replace a piece of legendary gear with a rare piece of gear, even if you do lose the aspect on it. Now, the aspect is this right here, and this will be going into your codex. Now, we'll talk about the codex in just a second so that you can kind of see exactly what that means and why you do want to make that jump. Now, your weapons at the very beginning of the game are the ones that you will replace the most. So you've now found some new gear, you've replaced your gear. What do you do with the old gear? Now, the very first instinct is to come over here and you just see, okay, well, this is going to give me 10,000 gold. I just started, I only have 300 gold, so I'm just going to sell it. It is an option for you, but not the best option. You want to make sure that you're salvaging all of your gear right from the very beginning. So how do you salvage your gear and why? When we come over to the blacksmith here, you're going to have several different options here. You're going to have all junk, which means you can actually mark this as junk. You can see the tooltip. Doesn't matter whether you're using the controller or whether you're using the mouse and keyboard. There is going to be an option for you where you can either save something, which is incredibly important so you don't accidentally salvage something, or you can mark it as junk. And this is going to be done on no matter what you're running, whether it's mouse and keyboard or it's going to be on your controller. But all of the gear that I currently have on, I have favorited, because if I was to come over here and I had a piece of gear in my bag that I was just swapping around and I hit salvage all items, I might lose that piece of gear. So there is a difference between salvaging different pieces of gear that you will need to worry about, but they all give you crafting materials, which you will need a lot of them in the end game. When you salvage each piece here, each one of them is going to give you different results. The yellow pieces of gear, surprisingly, will give you more results than your legendary piece of gear. You got 2 veiled crystals here, and then when we salvage this here, we're only going to get 1 veiled crystal. However, you gain this new legendary crafting material, which you will need to imprint gear and to upgrade your gear as well. Once you get into uniques here, uniques will start to drop the most as we salvage a normal unique, not a legendary. We now get 3, 3, and 3. And when we go to our ancestral legendary pieces of gear here, we're going to get 10, 10, and 10. So now, as you can see, they're going higher and higher and higher. And finally finishing out with your unique pieces of gear. Those are going to give you 30, 30, and 30. Now, armor types versus weapon types will give you different types of your legendary crafting material here. So that's going to be how you want to make sure you get your character set up for success in the end game. Salvage everything. Now, on salvaging and imprinting, we did talk about that. If you look at this item right here, this has a little mark. Now, this mark right here is going to indicate that we can actually gain an upgraded aspect. We talked about aspects earlier. When you salvage this piece of gear here, and this is why it's very important to salvage gear, this will go straight to your Codex of Power. When we salvage this, you're going to see on the side here, it says aspect upgraded. Now, the aspect that is upgraded will not affect the gear that you currently have on, so you will need to replace it again. So it went to the Codex of Power. Now, what does that mean? When we open up our achievements here, you can see the Codex of Power. This is every single aspect that we have found so far. Now, it automatically defaults to your class. So I have actually found everything in the Barbarian class so far, but some of them I haven't upgraded all the way. This one says 18 out of 21. So I can still have room to find some aspects to make this one stronger. If we come down to the bottom here for some of the other classes, I haven't found any of these. And a really great tip is if you want to go to this dungeon right here to find this aspect, you can just click pin on map, open up your map, and it is now gone and automatically pinned the dungeon for you, so you can go down and you can go to that dungeon and unlock the aspect. What do you do with the aspects? We did talk about how you're going to constantly upgrade your weapons. When we come over to the occultist here during the leveling process, if you have now salvaged a piece of legendary gear because you found a weapon that was much better and you wanted to put that weapon on, you can take that aspect that you just salvaged, and we saw went to our Codex of Power, you can select the weapon, and then we can re-imprint any of the aspects that we just put into our Codex of Power. So now we put this on here, and now it becomes a legendary piece of gear. You do not gain the third affix though, you still will only have 2 here, but now you get that special power on the bottom that will give you a boost. Now, like I did say, if you had already had an aspect on here and then you salvage a piece of gear that had an upgrade to that aspect, you will have to come back to the occultist and still re-imprint the piece of gear that you have. You would just add this right here, you would find the aspect that you had, and then you would re-imprint it back on because it does not upgrade automatically. So we mentioned the torment tiers. That's where you start finding your ancestral gear. How do you know what difficulty to play on? The most important is going to be whatever you can survive on. They will get increasingly harder as you go. Starting from normal going up to penitent, there's no increases in the quality of gear that you get. You will get up to 750 item power on your gear. That 750 will only come after you hit level 60. Now, what does that look like? After you hit level 60, you will have gear from leveling that will be less than item power 750 right here. This is 723. As we move up and hit level 60, every single piece of gear that you find after level 60 will be 750 item power. It will not be any less, and it will not be any more than that until you make it into the torment tiers. Then it will only go from either 750 or 800. So as you move up to torment 1 from penitent here, this now will have a chance for ancestral quality items will become available. And in Season 10, we were going to have your Chaos Armor. Now, we'll talk a little bit about Chaos Armor because that is pretty insane this season, and we'll talk about where to get that a little bit. Now, why do you want to move up in Torment tiers? It is very difficult to do. You start to take armor and resistance penalties, but you do gain increased gold and experience the higher you move up. When we move up into the higher difficulties of the Torment tier, increase legendary, uniques, and mythic unique items per Torment tier. You will also gain more materials, more gold, more experience, every single Torment tier that you jump up, and it goes up to quite a lot. Farming in Torment 4 versus farming in Torment 1 is incredibly different. The amount of materials that you get is way, way more. So it is really worth making sure that you get that push. Now, if you do want to make a push, we're going to cover a couple ways to get your gear set up for that, but I'll have a video in the description of this one. That will be the easiest way to get yourself from Torment 1 to Torment 4 for all classes. So those are the basics. Now, where is the real juicy part? We're going to start talking about different ways that you can get all of your gear. We're going to start with Grim Favors. Now, you can see right here on the very bottom, I have a full bar of Grim Favors. Return to the Tree of Whispers to claim your rewards. Grim Favors are found around the whole map. They're going to look like these right here, but I'll show you what it looks like when we don't have them grayed out. The reason that they're grayed out is because my bar is full. You can come to the Raven in any of the major cities. The Tree of Raven has been added in. You can see on the map here, it's going to be the purple thing. When we click on this, we now have an option to get greater caches. These greater caches are very specific to what you get out of each of them. It's a great place to get materials. It's a great place to get gem fragments. It is one of the best places to get gold. You can get specific types like this one right here of boots. You have your normal, you have your greater, and then you're also going to have an ancestral cache. Those will have guaranteed ancestral pieces, as well as a really high chance for Chaos Armor. So after we select this here, now our Grim Favor bar goes back down to whatever we have overdone, and now you can see on the map all of the different Grim Favors that are available for you. Now, a really, really great tip if you're looking to get some of them done real fast, these bosses here, you can go down to Torment 1 if you're playing on Torment 4 and you can't kill bosses. You can kill the boss really fast. You can get the Grim Favors. You don't even have to open the chest. Then you complete your Grim Favors, head back up to Torment 4 and turn in the cache there. And then you're going to get all of the materials that you would have gotten on Torment 4 with that cache, even though you unlocked it on Torment 1. The next thing we're going to cover is going to be Nightmare Dungeons and Escalating Nightmare Dungeons. As you can see right here, we have an Escalating Nightmare Dungeon with an Equipment Delve. Escalating Nightmare Dungeons are a series of 3 increasing difficulty Nightmare Dungeons back to back to back, followed by a boss. At the very end of the Escalating Nightmare Dungeons, you're going to be faced with a boss called Astaroth. Now, Astaroth is very tanky and he's very strong. So make sure before you hop into one of the Escalating Nightmare Dungeons, you try on a lower difficulty setting to make sure you can do it. Now, Astaroth, when you kill him, drops a loot explosion. Not only that, but in the season of the Infernal Hordes, this is actually an amazing farm for Infernal Horde keys. You see how many Infernal Horde compasses we got here on top of some of the greater ancestral gear that we got. This is an amazing farm. So grab some friends and go head into the Nightmare Dungeons and get this done. And on top of that, just doing regular Nightmare Dungeons is a great place for materials. With the new seasonal mechanic, it also is going to lead to one of the later options for us to get some insane loot. But we'll get there, it's coming. The next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be Helltides. Now, Helltides is actually a really, really great place to go and farm. So unlike the leveling process in Helltides here, you will be faced with different types of caches. The reason that you're going to be faced with these is that once you hit level 60, you now will have options to have different specific types of what caches. You'll have weapon caches, jewelry caches, you'll have armor caches. If you're looking for something very specific, because you want to upgrade that piece, Helltides is a great way to do that. They also have added in brand new seasonal mechanics that you just saw right there. Those seasonal mechanics are also great for different materials. And inside Helltides, you're going to have your Tortured Gifts of Mystery. Now this one is going to be the most expensive at 200 Cinder, but this one will drop the most rewards and the best rewards. This right here is different than when you're leveling. The only thing you're going to see during the leveling process is just going to be the same type of cache. So once you hit level 60, this is a really great option for you. The next place we're going to talk about is going to be the pits. Now, this is definitely not going to be your best option for getting gear, but you do need to come to the pits. This will not always drop your ancestral gear. You do have a chance to get it, and some people have found some mythics coming out of this. Now, this season, we're going to be talking about the Infernal Hordes. Now, during those Escalating Nightmare Dungeons, you saw that we got some Infernal Horde keys. These keys right here, now it does show legendary, rare, and magic. There is no difference between the keys other than the waves. This one says that this one is a 6-wave cap, this is an 8-wave cap, and then this is a 10-wave cap. That's the only difference. The loot is still the same. The quality of the gear doesn't change based on the color of the key. It's just a way for you to differentiate right away which one is going to be which wave. At the very end of each of your Infernal Hordes, you're going to have to collect enough ether, 666, in order to fight Bartok. If you don't do that, that's perfectly fine. You'll still have the option to fight a council. Bartok drops insane amounts of gold, opticite, and gear. As you see right here, we had several 2-star greater ancestral pieces of gear. We got 2 pieces of chaos armor. This is going to be an incredibly great farm for you, especially in season 10. Now, this also drops Scrolls of Restoration. Now, your Scrolls of Restoration will play a part later on. The chest that's sitting in front of me is the Greater Equipment Chest. This guarantees you to get ancestral gear. Same thing with Bartok. They're all going to be guaranteed ways of finding upgrades for your gear. This is always suggested to open as soon as you finish the Infernal Hordes. Do not go straight to the material cache unless you are looking for absolutely 0 gear. Now that material cache right there is an incredibly great source of opticite and gems, so don't skip out on it. The next guaranteed way that we're going to be talking about getting ancestral gear is going to be for the expansion pack only. This will be the Tributes of Radiance in the Undercity. Now make sure you go and you complete your Deeds of a Champion questline, or else tributes will not be unlocked. When you complete the Undercity, this will give you guaranteed chances at ancestral gear. To make these runs super fast, you're going to just worry about the rewards bar on the right hand side of the screen. Once that fills up, you don't have to kill any more monsters inside of this. You're just going to run straight to the very end. This is going to be an incredibly fast and very easy way for you to get yourself some gear. Now, when you get to the very end, depending on the tribute that you have taken, that is going to get yourself a big explosion of loot, which is what we're going to be looking for in these games. Now, you're going to come through the portal here and you're going to kill the boss. This is a great place to go to get runes. You can get opticite here. You can get guaranteed ancestral pieces of gear, and you also have a chance to get a mythic depending on the tribute that you put in. So what we're looking for here is just the best places to get guaranteed ancestral gear from. The next place that we're going to talk about where you can get guaranteed ancestral gear is going to be for seasonal characters. On the reputation board that you unlock during the seasonal quest line, once you have completed the board and you've unlocked every single tier, you will continue to earn experience points simply by closing chaos rifts and slaying demons in Helltide zones. That's how you're going to start gaining those reputation. That reputation will allow you to unlock these gems right here. These are going to be your greater infernal caches. Now, before you even think about opening them, come over to your seasonal journey here, go to your seasonal blessings, and make sure you get this urn of chaos armor. Chance to drop a chaos armor from a greater infernal cache, which is what we were just talking about, goes up to 100%. So we're going to buy these 3 right here because that's what we've earned enough rep for. And when we open up all of these, we get guaranteed chaos armor here. Now, this is going to be the best way that you can farm your chaos armor in the game right now, is going to be making sure you go get that reputation. And it's also going to give you other ancestrals, some more Infernal Horde keys, and then some legendaries as well. The great news is, while you're out there earning reputation to unlock your new caches, you will also be earning Infernal Warp. This warp can be turned in right here at the vendor. It will buy scrolls for you, and these scrolls will come down to your consumables tab. And when you use those, it's actually going to give you a whole bunch of rep. This is a great way to level up your board, especially since you only need 4,750 rep per cache. You can actually get a ton of caches because you can get more than that in a single Helltides. What you're going to look out for is after you close a rift, there will be a buff on you that will say monsters drop additional seasonal currency. That seasonal currency is your warp. That is going to be the best thing. And as soon as you see that, just kill monsters. Don't worry about picking things up. Just remember which direction you came so you can come back through and pick up all of the warp from just simply hitting a monster. Now, when you're looking at gear, what is going to be some of the most important things on your gear? Now, stat priority, you're going to be looking for main stats for your class. Each class is going to be different. Main stats for the Barbarian will be Strength. For Intelligence, you're going to be looking at your Sorc and your Necromancer. Willpower will be for the Druids, and then your Dexterity will be for your Spiritborn and your Rogues. Those stat priorities, they all will contribute to different things and different mechanics in the game. Dexterity will give you dodge and critical strike chance. Willpower will give you things like increased resource generation, healing received, and overpowered damage. Intelligence will give you resistance to all elements, and Strength will give you armor. And then for me, because this is my main stat, it will also give me skill damage. That skill damage is a multiplier. Now, you're going to have 2 different types of damage. You're going to have additive damage, and you're going to have multiplicative damage. So the best way to gear up and the best way to finish off your defensive stats are going to be your Masterworking and Tempering. That is where the end game really comes in, and I'll have more videos coming out about that. But what you want to look for is very specific stats on your gear as a greater affix. That's how you start to refine your character. All of them don't actually matter as much as you would think. You would think that having a 3-star mace versus a 1-star mace would make all of the difference in the world. But it actually makes a difference, but not that big. The reason that it doesn't really make that big of a difference is because Masterworking is what is going to actually increase your character the most out of anything in the game. Masterworking is done over at the blacksmith here. You have to first put 2 tempers on. Each piece of gear will have 2 tempers unless it's a unique. Unique can have no tempers. Then once you have done that, you can come over here to Masterworking. Now you have 12 ranks on your ancestral pieces of gear, and you'll only have 8 ranks on your legendary piece of gear. You do want to start Masterworking as soon as you hit Torment 1. Do not worry about the Obdicite costs because you will be able to get that Obdicite back if you salvage the piece of gear. Now, what do we mean by specific stats? When you come into any of the build planners, and my build planners will be in the description of the video, I'm the official writer for Mobalytics for the Barbarian class. We have a ton of great Barbarian builds here. You can go to your gear stats here, and you can see this orange piece right here. Orange is actually part of the Masterworking. And as you look, each one has one specific orange. Now, orange is very hard to get. There are 3 different tiers as normal. There is going to be your blue, there's going to be your yellow, and then there's going to be your orange. Every single time that you upgrade a piece of gear, you will get 1 roll at a 25% increase. Now, that's blue. As we keep on rolling and you get to the next tier, you either have a chance to hit a yellow if you land it on the same stat, which is completely random, or you get another blue like we just did here. So the yellow pieces will look like this. Now, I have landed that exact same one twice at a random chance, so it is very hard to do. The third one that you're going to be looking for is going to be your orange here. That is when you get really lucky and you go straight to 12 and you upgrade this one and it has landed on the same one 3 times. Now, I did get lucky here, and I got the second one on the same stat that I actually want to have. Now, how do I know that I want that specific stat? Come back into my planner here, I find Hooves of the Mountain God, and then I see that, oh, I need to rank some belligerents. I got 2 rolls into it. That means that I have gotten closer to getting the end game goal of my build. And that specific stat will give me more of a damage increase than any other stat on the piece of gear. All of them will gain increases, but because this is going to be the most important stat, that is why having multiple GA pieces of gear doesn't really increase your offenses as much as everybody would assume that it would. You're also going to have a ton of defensive and utility type affixes on your gear. So having those as greater affixes really is definitely something you want to shoot for, but don't stress about it because that will allow you to still get through everything that you want to do in Torment 4. As long as you have a great build that you've put together or that you found that somebody else has put together that you are following. Let me know in the comments what your favorite methods are to get gear in this game. That's all I got for you today. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you share it with your friends. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm live every night. I'd love it if you stopped by, said hi, theory crafted with me. Catch you on the clip side.